Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation on campus housing and residential life. We are from the Office of Community Engagement and our motto is Learn, Connect, Grow. Before we dive into our presentation, we want to offer a note to you all about the upcoming fall 2020 semester. We recognize and acknowledge that there is a global pandemic occurring right now, and this could have a large impact on the way we start our fall 2020 semester. COVID-19 has changed a lot of the normal ways we do things, and we suspect it has changed a lot of things in your lives too. While the SUNY system has not announced any finalized plans for the start of the school year yet, please note that the information we are about to present could change or become obsolete if and when a decision is made. Please keep checking your email correspondence from Purchase College for the most up-to-date information. All right, so now it's time to introduce your three resident coordinators. So my name is Julia Ferlippa, and I'm the RC, or Residence Coordinator, of Big House.
My name is Kate Hageman. I'm the current residence coordinator for Crossroads Residence Hall.
And I'm Jessica Moore. I am currently the residence coordinator of Farside.
So what are RCs? We are Purchase College administrators working in the Office of Community Engagement, and we work and live in your residence hall. We oversee all building operations, work to engage residents in the hall community. We handle emergencies and conflict within the hall. We meet with students regarding conduct issues, facilitate social and educational programs for residents, ensure a safe and respectful learning and living environment. We manage room changes, lockouts. We work closely with building maintenance. And in addition, you might see us as your first year instructors. We do teach courses as well as advise first year students. So if you don't see us as your big three RCs, which is Farside, Crossroads, and Big House, you might see us in those other respects. So RAs on campus. What is an RA? An RA is a student leader that lives in a residential area and is there to assist with everything from safety to community building. Across campus, there are 73 RAs. In Big House, there are 12. In Crossroads and Farside, it goes between 10 and 11. So we have a smaller population among the big three, but all of them work together to promote great programming across campus. So an RA typically works or is on call for the hours of 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. during weekdays and 24 hours on weekends. So your question might be, can you apply to be an RA? And the answer is yes. So starting your first year as a student, you can apply to be an RA. So application process starts around October. So don't wait until the spring to inquire about the position. We've had a few students do that, but we always encourage them to apply the following semester.
I put myself on mute. So now that we have talked a little bit about the staff that work within the residence halls, we're going to talk a little bit about what the residence halls we have on campus are. So the new first year students are almost all located in the Big Three area, which, as we mentioned before, includes Big House, Crossroads, and Farside. Within the buildings, you can find a variety of different room types. The first and most popular is our standalone singles, which are incredibly limited. So I wouldn't go into your room selection or into the process believing that you were going to get a single. Those are very rare and a little difficult to come by. We have standalone doubles. And then we also offer suite style living, which within the suites, you can find rooms of triples or doubles. Suites include a shared living room area, and many contain a private bathroom. Those that do not contain a private bathroom are often located right next door to the bathroom in the hall. And within suites, there can be anywhere from 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 8 students living within singles, doubles, or triples within that suite area. In addition to our first year housing area, other first year students, such as our transfer students, are typically located within these following 2 areas, Outback or Fort Awesome. Transfer students can also, pending eligibility, be placed in the apartment communities, which students in that area, to be able to live in an apartment, need to have either 36 completed credits or be at least 21 years of age to be eligible to live in the apartments area. So if you are a first-year student and you don't meet either one of those criteria, you will not live in the apartments, but you can look forward to doing so in the future at purchase. So we talked about some of the general housing makeup on campus. We also have some specialty housing options as well. So the first is our gender inclusive housing. So this provides students the opportunity to occupy a safe space housing option that does not require all the room or apartment mates to be of the same legal sex. This option is open to all members of our community, regardless of sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. This is something that you have to opt in on in your housing survey. So please make sure that if this is something you are interested in, you have to opt in, because that is the way that you will then either be put into that housing option or see it when it comes time in the future for you to select your housing option. If you have any questions about this, please contact our office. We are more than happy to speak to you more about this, as it is a policy that we are very proud to have as an option for our students on campus. In addition to that, we have quiet floors. So quiet floor housing is located within two different areas, residence halls on campus. Last year was our first year having it, and we had it in the first floor far side. There's also an area in Big House set aside for this as well, should there be a high demand for this. So within the quiet floors, there is a 24-hour quiet hour policy. This means that there's no noise emanating from your room. And there's a focus on a quiet, peaceful environment. That is, a lot of students often pick this because they want to be able to focus on their studies. The quiet hall includes a 24-hour quiet study lounge, and there's an RA placed specifically in that area to help enforce this policy, as well as work with the members of the community to hold each other accountable and do programming around whatever the interest might be. This is also something you have to opt into. So if you are interested in this, please make sure you say so on your housing survey. So for move-in information, so as we mentioned before, a lot of things are kind of in flux due to COVID-19, and one of those things is our move-in day. So right now, the fall semester date is TBD. It takes place usually at the end of August, so please just keep an eye on your purchase email. Any detailed directions, a parking permit, Panther Pass barcode, those are all going to be emailed to you, and all communication will be sent to your Purchase College email account. So you got to check that. And when the day comes, we will be so excited to welcome you to campus, and we will be there with bells on, ready to welcome you. So please, I can't say this enough, check your email, keep an eye on that, as that is where all updated and pertinent information will be coming to. So sit tight, but it's coming.
Sorry, I moved ahead just a second too soon. But yes, so we are very excited to have you come onto campus. We know that you're very excited to be here, but we do want to make sure before you are coming onto campus that you completely understand and are aware of all of our policies and procedures. Now, all these policies are designed to keep you safe while you're here at Purchase College, and to ensure that you're a positive and successful community member here. So we just kind of want to go through a couple of our more common violations just to explain a little bit about that. And we'll show you some links for more information if you still have any questions. So believe it or not, some of the more common violations we have on our campus have to do with fire hazards and health and safety violations. So a health and safety is what we call an inspection that happens in your room once per semester. So 2 RAs or a senior RA and an RA or a professional staff member such as your RC and your RA will enter the rooms on their floors and basically just do a quick visual inspection to make sure that everything in the room is healthy and safe for you to live there. So some of the very common items and violations that we see that we confiscate and or document during these inspections are listed here. So lava lamps, extension cords, outlet extenders. If you have like a, it looks like a little block that you plug into an outlet, and then instead of one outlet, you have, 6 outlets to use. We should note extension cords if they are grounded, which means if they have an on-off switch, that means they have a surge protector, so those are allowed, but the just plain extension cords are not. Candles are also an issue that we see. Incense, excessive wall coverings and tapestry or other items either hanging from or on the ceiling. We also will document for ashtrays, tobacco, and tobacco products. Just a quick reminder that our campus is smoke-free, and we prohibit the use of any tobacco products, any marijuana, and this also includes any vapes, jewels, any other type of electronic cigarette. These are all prohibited. There is no smoking zone or area you can go on campus. If you do choose to participate in any of those behaviors, you need to do that off campus. We also document for an excessive mess in a room or blocked egress. So one of the things that we're making sure when we're going into the space is that it's safe for you to get out in case of an emergency. So let's say there was a fire alarm in the middle of the night, you have to get up out of your bed and make your way to the door. If you have, for whatever reason, some furniture moved in the way, in the hallway, or piles and piles of clothes or trash that might block your exit. That's obviously very dangerous if in the case of an emergency you were not able to get out. So that is something that we will document for as well. Okay, so some of the other violations that we do see have to do with alcohol and other drugs. So obviously we talked about marijuana already. Alcohol is not as prevalent on our campus, but it is still definitely an issue. The big three residence halls, since they are first year residence halls, they are dry residence halls, which means no alcohol is allowed in. Even if you come in, as a freshman and you are a little bit older than a typical freshman age, there is no alcohol allowed in any of the residence halls, any of the big three residence halls, I should say. We also have quiet hours violations occasionally. So Jess spoke a little bit about this in terms of the quiet floor, but we do have quiet hours campus-wide. You can see the hours there that we observe quiet hours. And this basically just means if you're in the hallway or the lounge, or maybe you're in your room and you have the door open and you're having, loud conversations or you're listening to music, we just ask that either you bring it into your room or just turn it down a little bit so that you're not disturbing others in the area. You never know if somebody is trying to sleep or talking on the phone, maybe to family, or studying. We hope that you're using time to study. So those are our quiet hours. We also observe what we call courtesy hours 24/7, which means just because it's not quiet hours, maybe it's the middle of the afternoon, if you are walking down the hallway screaming, or you have a big boom box and you're blasting music, we're still going to speak to you about that, and we will document you for that as well. We do occasionally have guest policy violations. We will talk a little bit more about what the Panther Pass system is, which is how you would obtain a guest pass if you have somebody visiting you on campus. We do see violations of the pet policy. So right now, our current policies allow for an approved emotional support animal or a service animal, and that's approved by the Office of Disability Resources, not OCE, or your individual RA or RC. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into that process, and those are the only animals that are allowed besides a fish. So if you want to bring a fish, you're welcome to do that. Anything else is a no-go. Please leave it home. Something else that we do see, unfortunately, is improper use of a facility. So we will document residents for climbing in and out of windows. It might seem crazy to you, but we do have some rooms on the first floor where it might seem easy or convenient to do that, but we don't allow that. Accessing a roof or a balcony. There are certain parts of the big three buildings that it looks like you could just open the window and you'd have to climb out onto a little roof. So some residents sometimes think that that's a balcony area that just kind of comes with their room. It is not. You will be documented for that. Sleeping in or moving into a lounge or another shared space, and unauthorized room changes are other charges that we sometimes see. And then we have just a quick list of some additional health and safety items that you might want to take a look at. So these are items that we say, you absolutely should not bring these. So microwave oven, unless it's part of one of the micro fridge units that you're renting, sun lamp, toaster oven. We talked about extension cords, incense, candles, hot plates, and sandwich makers are not allowed. That includes like the George Foreman grills, weapons, drug paraphernalia, fireworks, AC units, unless you have an accommodation. Again, that would go through the Office of Disability Resources, but that probably would lead you to be placed in another space that has air conditioning, and not, bringing your own air conditioning units. Pets, we kind of covered that. Hoverboards and personal furniture. So please do not bring any footstools, any dressers, any office chairs, anything like that. The reason that we prohibit outside furniture is because we don't know where all of it comes from. We want to prevent somebody from just kind of picking something up and possibly bringing in bed bugs. I hate to say that word, but it's also not flame resistant. Or we can't tell if it's flame resistant. So all the furniture in your room is designed to be flame resistant in the case of a fire. But if you're just bringing, outside furniture, and we don't have a way to verify that. So we will document for that as well. Okay, what happens if we don't follow the rules? So we do have a student code of conduct, and I'm going to show you a couple of links in just a second, but we just want to break down. I'll show you some links to how you can find the full version of this, but these are the different sections that we have, A through G, academic integrity, personal identification and representation, rights of individuals, respect for property, welfare, safety, and environmental health of the college community, operation of the college, and policies documents. So I'm going to show you on the next slide. Okay, so in preparation for coming to campus, we want you to be successful, obviously, on our campus and part of our community. So we do recommend that you review these policies and become familiar with them before coming to campus. There is an all-hall meeting the evening of move-in day with everyone else that lives in your building. That will be led by your residence coordinator and your RAs to go over this again. But these policies are in effect from the time that you sign your keys. So you really should be familiar with it before you're coming to campus. You can access the full student code of conduct, as well as a list of suggested items and the full list of prohibited items on the Purchase College website. And I'll show you a third link as well. Sorry, I'm just going to escape from this. Okay. So I want this. Nope, it's not here. There we go. Okay, so the student code of conduct is here on the Purchase College website. If you just if you click in this little search bar here, student code of conduct or code of conduct, the entire code of conduct will come up. So you can just click on any of the different codes here, and it'll go through and actually tell you, what the actual violation is and what kind of disciplinary outcome you could expect if you were to violate one of these policies. We also have the packing guide page. If you, again, the search bar, handy little search bar, if you just search packing, this will come up. And again, this has a list of all the items you should bring, items you should definitely leave at home. And then the third link is just the Office of Community Standards. So if you have any more questions about the code of conduct or what our judicial process is, if you are, unfortunately found violating one of those codes of conduct, you can go through and check all of your rights and kind of what our process is for that. Okay. So go back into this. Sorry, hopefully this doesn't take too long. Okay. Back up.
All right, so Kate went through all about your things not to bring, and outcomes as well if you are found violating a policy. This is all for your safety. The only reason we are going through your rooms is to make sure that everything once a month when we complete health and safety is to make sure you are safe. So further talking about safety and security, talking about key access. So all of our the big 3 resident halls are key access. So everybody gets a building key and everybody gets a room key. So one thing we emphasize to students is to not share or give out your keys. There have been numerous times where students have come to me saying either they lost their key or that a student, they lent their key out, and you do have to pay for that key. So if you lose a room key or you lose your building key, you are charged. It's a charge that gets added to your account. If you do lose a key, you have to report it to your RC, to one of us. That way we can put it in the system and make sure that a new key a new key core is made for your room so that nobody finds that key and tries it on all the doors and gets access to your room. So any kind of key that's lost, we make sure that there is a key change. So just to make sure, again, for your safety. I know Kate spoke a little bit about guests, but online policy and registration is mandatory to have guests on campus. They are not allowed to stay for extended periods of time. It's usually just a night. You have to fill it out for that night. And then once you have a guest on campus and if they drive a car, you'll get from the RA or RC a pass that they can keep in their car so they're not ticketed by UPD. So it all, again, goes down to your safety and security. So living in staff members for each building, again, you have all of your RAs in the building, so between 10 to 12 for the big 3, and you have us. So RCs typically work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, so you won't see us. You might see us passing by in the laundry room on a weekend, but your RAs are the first one to contact before you contact an RC. For RA duty phones, again, if you have an emergency or need something, regardless of the hour of the day, or I should say more so middle of the night, typically things happen, you would call the RA duty number. So if something happens where a fight breaks out or you need an RA to come over and assist if you're struggling through something and you need a resource, your RA is the first one to call. So there's a duty phone number. All RAs carry around a duty phone. It's not their personal cell, and they're able to be a resource for you all. So again, and RA duty phones are just for students. So please do not give the number out to parents or anybody else. It is just for students. RAs are here for students, just like we are. So again, UPD is one of the resources that RAs tend to call a lot of the time, and they are on campus 24/7. They complete rounds. They make sure that everything is safe on campus. If the big thing, for Big House and the big 3, we're right next to UPD. So it's a good thing for us since they're right there. And if you have any issues, their office is always open, so you can go in and communicate that. If something's lost or stolen, we usually send students to them, and they'll be able to further assist. So fire alarms and fire safety, something that you'll see a lot of the time are fire alarms going off, and that is a result typically of students smoking in the room. So of course it's a policy violation, and they're going to be meeting with the RC, and they get it can ultimately affect their academic record, but I won't go too much into that. But usually the fire alarm does go off, and when it does go off, all students have to leave the building. So we hold fire drills. Yes, we don't tell you when they are, but we do hold that and make sure that everybody leaves the building. And if you don't leave the building, you are also charged with, you also go through the conduct process, because that's a breaking of violation. So keeping that in mind, fire safety is another thing I'm going to dive into. But just keep in mind that we want to be as safe as we can. The fire alarm has gone off from illegal extension cords that either, when we say that, they don't have an on and off switch. That's the best way to describe it. So students have had them spark up and cause the fire alarm to go off. So again, keep that in mind when you're buying stuff for college.
I just had one really quick thing to add for the keys.
Yep.
Just sorry, I don't mean to jump in. A lot of times students will decide not to report that they lost their keys because they don't want to pay for the replacement. But please be aware that we obviously count them and track them when they are returned at the end of the year. So you would be charged for it one way or another. It's better to just kind of bite the bullet, tell us, so that you actually get a new key and your room is actually able to be secured, and you don't have to worry about your belongings being stolen. Because you'll still be charged for it at the end of the year. It's better just to pay for it and kind of get a new key. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you for adding that. Okay, so I know we touched a little bit on fire safety. So a lot of it has to do with the apartments, more so for the kitchen cooking, but we do have a community kitchen right next to D Hall, our dining hall, that Big 3 residents or anybody in the community, any resident on campus can use. So just remember, if you are cooking in there, all the ways to prevent cooking fires, keeping in mind if you are using a microwave or you have a micro fridge, because we only allow micro fridges in that sense. If you are cooking, say, mac and cheese, make sure you put the water in, or popcorn, make sure you put it for that specific time. That's another reason a lot of the fire alarms go off, is because the instructions are not fully read through, or you're having a late night, you just want some ramen noodles and you forget to put water in. So keep in mind to fully read the instructions. We go through that with residents. It happens. We understand, you're learning. But these are just some basic reminders as well to prevent cooking fires. Making sure in your own space that you are not blocking the smoke detector, because this is another huge violation. A lot of students tend to cover their smoke detector, and it is a policy violation, and that results in a charge. So keep that in mind, to not be hanging anything from the sprinkler system, not to be covering smoke detectors, and make sure you know how to use your fire extinguisher. So there are some great videos online. Familiarize yourself with that, and make sure you know where the pull stations are, where the fire extinguishers are in the building. But yeah, if anything does result in a fire alarm going off or a fire, make sure you call UPD. They're the first ones to answer, and they will connect you with whoever you need. So I encourage everybody to put this number in your phone. University Police is, the emergency number is 914-251-6911. So keep those things in mind. You can review this picture, or go look online for more videos. But yep, we want to make sure you are safe and secure. And just finally, personal security. So make sure that you have your purchase ID on you at all times, just like this one. And it's going to be your access to food. Since everyone in Bay 3 has to have a meal plan, it's your access to food. If you want Starbucks, whatever it is, make sure you have this with you. So again, I know I mentioned UPD as well. So plug those two numbers into your phone. The non-emergency number, and it's 914-251-6900. The emergency number ends with 6911. So again, we are here to make sure that you are staying safe on and off campus. We always enforce these rules and just hope that you take them with you wherever you go. Make sure that you have your ID with you at all times, and these numbers in your phone. So in case of emergency, you have UPD there. Again, we go through health and safety inspections to make sure that you are living safely in your space. And make sure that you have your keys on you at all times, because lockouts are also, after your first lockout, we do charge your account. So we don't want you locking your keys in your room or forgetting your keys. So think of a creative way to carry around your keys with you. So again, if anything seems out of place, definitely report it to your RA, to us, your RCs, or UPD.
Okay, switching gears, we're going to talk a little bit about FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. I can almost guarantee you will hear more about this throughout orientation. So if this is your first introduction to it, hello, FERPA is very important. And if it's not, you know what we're talking a little bit about. So FERPA basically covers your rights and your privacy when it comes to your education. Once you hit the age of 18 and you are a matriculated college student, your parent or your guardian is no longer entitled to know about your education or things relating to it as they were when you were in high school. So you might hear later on about the student release form, which enables your parent to be able to access like some certain educational records. Student financial services and other offices will cover that as well. But as it relates to our office, this means that any student specific information, so where you live on campus, if you're a student here, what residence hall you occupy, activities, anything like that, cannot be shared from an RC or an RA. I can tell you that I get a lot of times parents will call my office and will ask me to tell them what room the student they have identified as their son or their daughter lives. I have no way of knowing that or verifying that, so I am not allowed by this law to share that information with them. So what we tell parents is your student should be encouraged to follow up through the proper channels. So that means that it is your responsibility to come talk to us with whatever concern maybe your parent is calling because you have been complaining about a roommate issue that you were having. You have to be the one to come talk to the RA or bring it up to your RC. If your parent, for example, calls and tells me that your roommate is gross and is messy and is causing a lot of problems, the first thing I'm going to say is, can you please have your student contact me so that we can begin like going through the proper channels of this. It is very important that once you get to college, you start kind of asserting some of that independence from yourself. It's okay for you to talk to your parent or your guardian about this. Like absolutely fine, totally within your real power. But when it comes to involving us and our services, we are here to work with you. So again, please just be the one to bring it to the RC or the RA. Don't have your parent or your guardian call. Or another family member call and expect we can't share that information. So going off of that, almost the number one reason why I sometimes have parents calling my office is because of roommate concerns. So you will receive within the first week of class, once you move on campus, you will receive an electronic blank roommate agreement. So it is very important to fill this out with your roommate. You have to do it. We check and we enforce that you do it. I can't express how important it is to do your roommate agreement because conflicts will arise inevitably. Whether you are used to sharing a room with somebody or this is your first time living with somebody, it's going to happen because you're all in this new environment. You're going to classes. Life just happens. So when conflicts arise, we encourage you to engage in a dialogue with your roommate first, and having that roommate agreement is integral for having a successful discussion because you would have agreed on something beforehand, and now this is how you know an issue has arisen. If that dialogue doesn't work, then the next step is to involve your RA. You are more than welcome to go to your RA beforehand to get some advice about how to talk to your roommate, how to discuss this issue. But the RA can also step in and run a mediation or a conversation between you and your roommate if needed. This is a very useful way to kind of have someone there to moderate things and someone who's a third party to just make sure that the conversation stays focused on what it is. If that mediation does not work, we then involve the RC, where the RC we will run a discussion and we explore opportunities that meet the needs of all the residents in that space. What does this mean? This means that if you are having a problem with your roommate, you cannot force your roommate to move out of the room. And move outs are never the first option. So if you're having an issue, say they're turning the lights on when you're asleep, your first reaction cannot be, oh, well, I need to move. That might be your first reaction, but we're not just going to automatically process a move. We have to go through these steps first. And then if none of that is working, we can explore room changes at a later date, but that is not the first option. So please just keep that in mind if/when these roommate concerns do arise. So here's a fun little acronym to help keep in mind. Maybe acronyms work for you. So in order to live with others, this is how you thrive. You need to talk to your roommate. I'm not going to go into that more. I've talked about it. You have to talk to your roommate. It's important to hear all sides of the story, acknowledge that your truth is going to be a little bit different than how your roommate might be seeing the situation. Reflect on your responsibility, and are you holding yourself to the same standards that you're holding your roommate? Are you following all the things you agreed in the roommate agreement you wrote in August? Using I statements, so not coming into a room and being like, you are the worst, you're so smelly, blah, 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 like all of those things I've heard. You want to instead approach it from, I feel frustrated when my room is not clean. And then you go at it from there. Kind of helps you really narrow down on what the issue is, as opposed to attacking the character of your roommate. You want to visualize a mutually beneficial solution. How can you both pull your weight? How can you have a successful living environment? And by the way, a successful living environment does not mean that you and your roommate are going to be best friends. Sometimes you are, and that's amazing. And sometimes you're not best friends, but you are able to totally live together in a successful way. I always talk about my roommate from my freshman year. She and I, upon first glance, were not completely similar. We're not BFFs, but we were able to coexist together because we had a similar standard of living we had for ourselves. And we just acknowledge that, like, we're going to have our own lives, we're going to do our own thing, but when we come back to the room, this is how it's going to be. And then for the E, you want to express your needs, not your wants. So what do you need to live in a space, as opposed to what you want? Like, you need it to be quiet so you can sleep, but that doesn't mean that lights are off at 7 p.m. How can you find a compromise, for example, in that scenario with your roommate who likes to be up until like midnight or something? So these are just some examples. It's okay if you don't remember it. We will talk more about it till our faces are blue once y'all get on campus.
Okay, so just a couple more tips and tricks to keep in mind. We get a lot of questions about the mini fridges that you may or may not decide to rent for the year. If you have any questions, issues, or concerns, that all needs to be directed to the refrigerator leasing company. The website is there. It's literally refrigeratorleasing.com. We do not handle any of the payment splitting. So if you and your roommate have decided you're going to share responsibility, you're going to split the cost of it, but then your roommate moves out and you're like, I'm stuck with the bill. That's something you should definitely get in writing with your roommate beforehand, because we can't charge the other student for that. So really make sure that you have everything, planned out in writing before you come to campus. Another thing that you should know is that we will be asking you to submit work orders if there are issues in your room. So you can definitely let us know, and I can, any of the RCs or any of your RAs can definitely walk you through how to submit a work order for any problems that you might be experiencing in your room. But the reason that we ask you to submit it specifically through your account is so that facilities can contact you. So sometimes they might have a question about, which side of the room is this happening on? Maybe it's like an outlet that's not working. Okay, so did you try the appliance you were trying to plug in another outlet? Was it the outlet on the left side or the right side of the room? Was it towards the door, towards the window? Or they might have information to share with you just to let you know, like, hey, we checked it out and we were able to fix the outlet and this was the problem. So it's a lot quicker for them to contact you directly than to ask me to ask you, and then I'm waiting for you to respond to me, and then I'm responding to them, and then they ask me another follow. It takes a really long time to do that. So that's why we have you do it. And please keep in mind, if we don't know about an issue, we can't fix it. I don't live in your room. Jess and Julia don't live in your rooms. You're the only one who can really let us know if there's a problem in terms of a facilities concern that needs to be addressed. So just a couple of quick move-in day tips and tricks. Hand trucks or bins. We will have some of each available for you, but they are first come, first serve. Usually we'll ask for a photo ID or something to hold as collateral while you're using it, and we ask that you limit it to about 20 to 30 minutes when you're borrowing the bin. So it really should just be, I'm getting the stuff out of my car, loading it in, bringing it to the room, and bringing it right back so that another student can come and bring their items in. It's not, I'm sitting and unpacking and I'm folding and I'm whatever. So if you do have your own hand truck or like a little cart or something that you think would be helpful, definitely bring that along as well. If you're looking for a fan, it does get a little warm in the summertime. An oscillating fan is a really great recommendation that we make, just to keep things cool in your room. If you have friends and family coming to help you move into your space, please keep in mind that Farside, Crossroads, and Big House are all buildings that do not have an elevator. So if you have somebody who might have some mobility issues with that, maybe that's not, the best place to say goodbye. There's also no air conditioning, so it can get really hot and uncomfortable. Just keep that in mind. It might be better to, have your farewells before you come to campus, if that's a concern that you might have. You should definitely talk with your roommates and suite mates beforehand to figure out who's bringing what. So this way you won't show up and have 6 TVs or, 9 refrigerators or, everyone brings their own Keurig. You can kind of split some of those items up, decide how you want to do that before you come to campus, and then you're just kind of stuck with it. You should make sure you bring all of your immunization records. You should have all of those things completed. So have your immunization records, your first semester bill, and your alcohol EDU coursework all needs to be completed before you'll be approved to move onto campus. Definitely bring a keychain or a lanyard to help keep track of your keys. Again, like we said, we do charge if keys are lost. That includes on move-in day. So if you sign for your keys, if I hand you your keys and 10 minutes later you have lost them, unfortunately you will be charged for them. So make sure you bring something to keep them on and enjoy it. It's going to be very emotional, definitely, for you, for any family, friends who are coming to see you off. But it's also exciting because it's a new chapter that we will be starting. Once again, just a quick reminder that we are tobacco free. Some more information about that. This includes cigarettes, including cloves, biddies, and critics. Can you tell I don't smoke? I don't smoke. E-cigarettes, such as Juuls and other vaping devices, cigarettes and cigarillos, pipe tobacco, hookah smoked products, smokeless tobacco, such as dip, chew, snooze, and snuff, or any other product that contains tobacco flavoring or is intended to mimic tobacco product or delivers nicotine, with the exception of FDA approved nicotine cessation products. We should also note that if you are currently smoking but you're thinking about quitting, the Wellness Center on our campus offers a lot of really great resources for you in order to assist with smoking cessation. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those. I'm really not hip with smoking culture. I'm so sorry. The Panther Pass is the last thing that we'll go over. Basically, your Panther Pass is what tells you are good to go for move-in. So on move-in day, that's the document that we'll be asking for. So in order to get your Panther Pass, you have to submit all of your forms. So everything from your doctor, you have to have part 1 of alcohol use and sexual assault prevention completed. You'll get a lot of information and a lot of reminders about that. Your first semester e-bill has to be in good standing. So here's the list here. There has to be a full payment of your bill. That's the date from last year, but there will be a new date once we have that finalized. You have to be enrolled in a college approved payment plan, have authorized financial aid. It can be a combination of any of the above methods. You should definitely reach out to Student Financial Services if you have questions about that. So basically, it's a document. The Panther Pass is a paper that you'll get that has a barcode on it. So once you arrive, we'll ask you for that document. We'll scan it, and we'll get you set up with your keys and your ID. And that's the end of our presentation.
All right. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope you have a good rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your virtual orientation.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.